good morning. Welcome back to Taylor Time Live. I'm your host, Seth Gladden, and today we have a great show planned for you. You know, it's hard to believe this year is already almost over. We're done with Thanksgiving. We're on the edge of Christmas, and what a year it's been. But we've enjoyed it. I encourage you, if you have not checked out our previous Taylor Time Live shows, go to our YouTube channel. You can access it on our website, or just go to YouTube and search Taylor Adhesives. You can check out, this year we've been talking about biggest challenges in the flooring industry, so we've covered a lot of great topics. So I encourage you to view those. Also, connect with us on social media. But before we jump in today, we do have a holiday special. Before we jump in today, I want to play you a quick video, just a welcome video from our president, Paul Murphin.
Hi, I'm Paul Murphin, president of Taylor Adhesives and also the president of the Meridian Flooring Division. I'd just like to take this opportunity to, on behalf of all of our employees, to thank all of our customers and industry partners for an incredible 2022, and also take the opportunity to wish you and your families a very happy and Merry Christmas and a very prosperous 2023. I'd also like to take the opportunity to recognize Seth and the Taylor Time team for another amazing year of Taylor Time, and take the opportunity as well to thank all of the industry participants who've been kind enough to join us for this year's incredible content. Thanks so much, and see you in the new year.
Thank you, Paul. So today I'm joined in studio by Scott Humphrey, the president and CEO of the World Floor Covering Association. Scott, it's so great to have you here.
Good to be back, Seth. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a whole year, I think, since you were in studio.
It has been a year, yes.
Yeah, what a year, huh?
Oh, amazing, and it's flown by. I can't believe it's already Christmas time again.
Yeah, it really is. It's moved so quick, but. Yeah. You know, I know you guys have a lot going on at WFCA, but before we talk about that, I'd love to just kind of remind people, or if someone is viewing that maybe doesn't know, tell us a little bit about you, how long you've been here at WFCA, what your role is, and then we'll start talking about the WFCA.
Okay, great. I won't bore you too much. I've been in the industry a long time. My dad owned a carpet mill, and I started working in it when I was 7 years old. So 52 years now in the industry. I spent 25 years with Shaw Industries, and for the last almost 10 years, believe it or not, it'll be 10 years in March, I've been the president and CEO of the World Floor Covering Association. We're kind of an umbrella association, which means we have a lot of other entities under our tutelage. We have the floor covering B2B. Lewis Davis runs that for us, and that's the technology side of what we do. We have CFI. We acquired the key components of CFI several years ago to send a message to the industry that we are serious about solving the installation crisis. We have FCIF, which we help manage. It's a separate entity, but we help manage that. And Andrea Blackburn does an amazing job with that. And that's the feel-good part of the job.
Yeah.
That's an association that helps people that have really provided for our jobs, the people that have kept this industry going. If they face a catastrophic illness, it gives us a chance to step in and help them financially as they work their way through that.
Yeah.
We've also helped to launch the Floor Covering Education Foundation. We gave $1 million in seed money, and the industry has rallied around and brought their own income in to make that possible. And that whole association is focused on solving the installation crisis, really marketing what the trade is, finding people, putting their butts in the seats, and then helping them find placement. And we scholarship them along the way so we can make finance not a detriment to them coming into the industry.
Right.
So really excited about who the WFCA is, what we stand for. Our mission statement kind of says it all, and it's pretty generic, but it says we exist to ensure the success and profitability of professional flooring dealers. That's our primary focus, and to represent the industry's common interest. And another big thing that we do, obviously, with that is we lobby in DC on behalf of the industry to make sure that the government stays out of our business as much as possible and allows us to clear a path to success for our members. But also, if we need the help of the government, we step in and we're a voice for the industry as a whole to say, hey, listen, here's where we need your help.
Yeah. So you don't stay busy at all?
Not at all.
So
yeah, it's nice to sit down with you rather than
Yeah.
talking to you by phone, which
Yeah,
is
I
what it
know.
normally is.
I know, that's so true. Well, and hopefully we see a lot more. I know, next year is going to be crazy busy with shows and all that.
God,
So
January is just, I was just looking at my calendar. It's amazing how many shows there are just in January.
Just
And usually
yeah.
January through early March
Yep.
is that way. Then we
Yeah.
get a little bit of a lull, and that's when we have our board meeting. We get together face to face with our board to talk about the things we can be doing to make success possible.
Yeah.
My view of an association when I stepped away from Shaw is very simple. I think we are to look at what's happening in the industry, what's a detriment to success, and we're to step in and solve that,
Yeah.
whatever that may be. And so 10 years in, I feel like we've done a very good job in addressing what the issues are and at least starting the road to success. There are some things I'd like to see the industry do better. We still tend to be very siloed as
Sure.
an industry. We
Yeah.
have different entities that are working on different components, but they're not combining their efforts to reach success quickly. I'd like to see that, and I think in the next few years, as I finish my tenure at WFCA, that will be my focus.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, there's definitely been exciting stuff happening. And like you said, 10 years, it feels probably very long, but at the same time, like blink of
Like
an
that.
eye. Yeah.
Like that.
So, well, you mentioned a lot of things, Scott, that the WFCA does. You mentioned FCIF, which, just to remind you, if you're viewing, we actually last December had them on and did a fundraiser. That's the Floor Covering Industry Foundation,
Yes.
right? And you mentioned that. You mentioned FCEF. We have so many acronyms.
We do. We
right?
cover pretty much the
in
whole
our
alphabet.
industry. So yeah, it's definitely alphabet soup. So FCEF is the Education Foundation. You mentioned the B2B as well. So you guys have a lot of stuff going on, the lobbying. What would you say as you move into 2023? What's kind of your main areas of focus?
I would say the two main areas of focus continue. They're a carryover. I remember a story I heard years ago about a pastor that came to a new church, and he came and he preached the first sermon, and man, they loved him. They thought, this is phenomenal. And then the next Sunday they came back and he preached the same sermon, and they thought, well, maybe he's got a memory problem. He just didn't remember he preached the same sermon. And the next Sunday he preached it again. And so the deacons called a meeting and they said, man, why are you preaching the same sermon? He said, when y'all start living this one, I'll quit talking about it and move on to something else. And I think the industry has to address the two key issues that are keeping us from achieving success. One, obviously, and you and I've talked about a lot, Seth, and Taylor has been a very good advocate for what we're doing to help solve the installation crisis. That crisis has the potential to derail retail as we know it.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if I'm a manufacturer, I've got to sell product. They have to stay healthy. They have investors or they're self-invested. They've got to stay healthy. If they can't sell product because of lack of professional installation, they have to create product that doesn't need professional installation. And if you don't need that, ultimately you don't need as many retailers to sell it in. And so we have to solve that. But more than that, the consumer wants a professional experience from start to finish. They want to know that the product that goes in their home, and we got subfloor issues. There's so many things that need professional installation for it to happen. That will continue to be our primary focus. And we work hand in hand with FCEF, even though they're a separate entity. Jim Aaron, Kay Whitener, Jen, Tiffany, they work phenomenal over there and they're doing a great job. But we want to lend as much support and as much voice to them as we can and let them know that we're in this with them, that we believe in what they're doing, and they're getting amazing traction. Kind of sidebar on this, Seth, but it was amazing to us to find out that the biggest issue wasn't getting people to sit in the seats. It was getting people to understand that the trade actually existed.
Right. Yeah.
People had no idea. And we take that for granted because we're in this industry. But the people that have looked at Jim and said, that's a job. You can actually do that. And so we'll continue our focus there. The other one that I see really impacting us from a sales standpoint is that the industry as a whole has not fully embraced technology. That's what FCB2B is all about. We're trying to make the process as simple from start to finish, from manufacturer all the way through to consumer, as simple as possible. I'm amazed still at the number of manufacturers that are not members of FCB2B. Because by not being a member, you're sending a message to your members that doesn't matter to us, or ease of process is not important to us. We're not going to simplify this for you. We're stuck in the way that we're going to do it, and we're going to continue that. Years ago, there was a mill called Barwick Mills. It was the largest manufacturer of flooring in the world at the time. And when I was at Shaw, Danny Crutchfield, who runs the Shaw Flooring Network, VP over there, he went to the old Barwick plant because it was kind of a ghost town. And you could go in and some of the desks were still in the offices and there was dust on them and some of them still had magazines laid out. It's just like something suddenly happened and it wasn't there. And we wondered, how does the largest manufacturer go away?
Yeah.
And so we got on the phone and called some of the old board members and asked them, and they said they remembered a board meeting where somebody said, what are we going to do different going forward? And the statement was, we're not going to change a thing. We're going to continue to do what we do and let the customer adapt to us. That philosophy doesn't work real well. Ask Service Merchandise, ask Circuit City.
Yeah.
You've got to be willing to go where the consumer wants to go. How do consumers buy today? They utilize technology.
Yeah.
I don't care if you go in the store to buy it. You probably shopped online first to get the knowledge that you need to know what you're buying. And
or the choices we have.
It's crazy.
Just to narrow that down, are you going to buy LVP or LVT or
That's right.
engineered wood or rigid cord?
I think one of the biggest challenges for us, Seth, is we know all that stuff because we live in it.
Yep.
And we make the mistake of assuming the consumer does too. And anytime you can simplify the process for somebody, they're more likely to get on board. So I think that's our two major focuses. We will continue to focus on solving the installation crisis with support of FCEF and certainly what we're doing with CFI. I mean, we're doing more training this year. We've had some transition in leadership, but Steve Abernathy, who is our COO now, we've just promoted Steve to Chief Organizational Officer for the WFCA. He is going to step in and do some of the leadership with CFI, and we'll get that foundation laid and a focus that is fully about training. Getting people trained. We need more entry-level training so people that have never been in the industry can come in. We've got great partners in CTEF and NWFA and others that are offering training. We've got to better communicate. We've got to work together to solve the problem because we're not solving it with the number of people we're training right now. And again, of course, technology with FCB2B.
Yeah. Well, that's, you've got your work cut out for you.
We do, but the good thing is it's focused. At least we know the two issues, and I'm glad you ask it that way. We know that if we can get people to embrace these two issues, quite frankly, I don't understand. So we're primarily a retail organization. If I were a retailer and I was doing business with somebody who was not part of FCB2B, I would be having a conversation with them. I would be asking, why are you not embracing this? Why are you not making my life easier? And I would probably be doing more of my business with those who are.
Yeah.
And so I think for those who aren't yet, this is an opportunity for them to get on board going into 2023 and to show the customer that they're really focused on their success.
So if someone was interested in learning more about that, how do they find that information?
Yeah, you can go to WFCA.org. You can go to FCB2B.org. And but all of our access to any of our sites you can get through WFCA.org. And Lewis Davis is the gentleman who runs FCB2B for us. Very accessible. He'll be glad to answer any questions. And he's put quite a few videos on the FCB2B site that you can go to and look, and it explains why B2B makes sense for you.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely great to know. What percentage would you say of flooring manufacturers are a part of this currently?
I should know that number, Seth, because we just talked about this. I've had 2 executive meetings in the last few weeks, one for FCEF and one for the WFCA, but I wouldn't have the number right. I can just tell you the major players are, and when you get to the high-level B players and below, fewer and fewer of them are.
Yeah.
And that's the ones that we really need to get on board.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hopefully you can this year.
Yeah.
So
that'll be a go.
Big plans for 2023.
Yeah.
So I know we talked about some trade shows, things like that. You guys are obviously going to be back at TIES.
Yeah.
It's kind of your show, so to speak.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about TIES, what you guys are planning there.
Sure.
People can come find you there, obviously, too, if they have questions. So.
Yeah, so part of our agreement, I don't know if people know the history of it or not, but we created that show. We sold it to Hanley Wood 20 plus years ago, and Hanley Wood sold it to Informa. It's Informa's show now, but we're one of the chief sponsors of that show. So it is our key show. We don't have a convention of our own. This is our greatest opportunity to gather together with our members, spend time with them, hear from them, find out what their issues are so we know where we can step in and address it. And so we'll have a very big presence there. You'll see the WFCA booth. It's an open booth. It's a space for everybody who's a member to access. And by the way, just as a reminder, to be a primary member, a retail member of the WFCA, there is no cost.
Right.
You just come and add your name so that when we go to DC lobbying, we have a bigger voice than we would without you.
Right.
And so a lot of the groups have come in full and said, hey, listen, we're joining all of our members to you, so we can lobby together, kind of tearing down those silos. Obviously, CFI will be well represented there as well. We have the installation competition. They have their own section, usually back in the back of the showroom area. And so they'll be there. We've got the entities that will be in our booth, FCB2B, FCEF will have their own booth again this year. And so there will be places you can go to access all the information that you need about what we're doing. We would love to get you involved any way that we can.
Yeah. So a lot going on there, and you've got a pretty decent size booth there again, I would imagine. So
we do. We have two other conventions, Seth. We have a CFI convention, typically in August or September, and we also have the FCB2B convention. But by far, our biggest opportunity to meet with our members happens at TICE. We also, just like you guys, we see you often on the road. I know we have the same travel schedule. That's our chance to meet our members. We go to every major show that we can, just so we can interact with those who committed their name to us.
Yeah. So outside of, like, we've talked some about what WFCA does, but I know there's some ancillary, let's call them ancillary benefits, right? Or some additional benefits of being a WFCA member. I know, for example, like we're a WFCA member, as such, we get a discount on, our floor space at TIEs, different things. Can you talk to us about some of the other benefits that come from being a member?
Certainly. So Taylor is what we call an associate member, and our associate membership has grown almost 21% this year.
Wow.
And so we're trying to bring those people in again, because that's a major voice in the industry as well. But you're right, one of the major benefits of that is you get a 20% discount on your booth space if you are a member of the WFCA and you buy space on the floor at TICE. In addition, when we go and lobby in DC, we don't just lobby on retail issues. We lobby on issues that are impacting the industry as a whole. For instance, one of the biggest issues impacting us, we talked about the labor crisis.
Right.
Well, we've got a lot of people that are in this country and they come across the border not legally, but they're here anyway. And why can't we utilize those that are here as a labor source in key industries where it's needed? Obviously construction, because we're not the only one in construction looking for people. Agriculture, retail, it's we have proposed on the Hill just as recently as a month ago that we have those people trained so that they can be contributing to the society in the United States, paying taxes, paying their health care, and then move to the back of the line for citizenship. They certainly should not bypass those who are here legally, but there's a resource there that we're not tapping into. Now, if you look at birth rates in organized countries around the world, the U.S. birth rate has dropped dramatically. We're going to need people long term.
Yeah.
We may not like or may like the reason they're here. I'm not here to talk about a political issue. I'm just saying, but they're here already.
Yeah.
Why are we not utilizing that resource? And so that's big for manufacturers, for distributors, for trades, and certainly for retailers as well.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, it comes back to not only just utilizing, but also training.
Yes.
The importance of, because it could be anyone. You pick up anyone and say, hey, you want to install a floor? Like, I could probably figure some of it out eventually, but without training, and that's the big thing, because then you get into claims and warranties and failures and all this stuff. So the focus as well on training those individuals alongside everyone else is huge too.
Yeah, and we have an example of that already, Seth, going on right now. So we brought a lot of people from Ukraine over to the United States and allowed them to settle here when the war began, when Russia came across the border. Many of them settled in Utah. We are actually setting up training now in Utah, and FCEF is very involved in this, CFI as well, to get those people trained on flooring installation so that they can have a trade where they can go in and contribute to society and not just live here.
Yeah. Well, in flooring, flooring installation it can be a very lucrative business. And we know a lot of people in our industry who have shown that by example.
Yeah, no doubt.
But there's a lot that can be done when it comes to flooring installation, and then your path. You move from residential to maybe commercial or retail installation, and then you can take a full-time job, or you can end up as a trainer, or so there's a lot of options.
Well, one of the largest groups in the industry, I won't mention the name, but one of the largest groups surveyed their members at one point, and 40% of the retailers in that group started on their knees. as installers.
Wow.
So there are a lot of paths. Shame on us, Seth. We've done a terrible job communicating the potential of starting in this trade and the money that can be made in it. But we're beginning to get that story together. Again, a lot of the investment of FCEF initially has been telling that story. And we're really proud of the work that Jim and Kay and team have done there.
Yeah. So I know there's a lot of different paths there, right? A lot of different ways to get manufacturers and get, call it, contractors, subcontractors on board with the importance of training. But what do you see as some of the key ways of kind of turning that dial and really bringing that differentiation between a trained or certified installer and non?
Yeah, I think it's big. Thank you for asking that question. I know that y'all don't try to tout Taylor here, but you should tout it more, because you're doing some things not just to blow your own horn, but to set an example for the industry on what needs to be done. And one of the things that Taylor has done is tying their warranty or extending their warranty for those who are professionally trained.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a no-brainer. If we want the trade to be appealing to people, there has to be a reason to get certified, to get licensed, whatever you have to do. If you don't add an incentive to people purchasing and utilizing a professional installer, you discourage coming into the trade to begin with. And so Taylor did that with CFI. I know that you guys have done or are looking at that with others. Kudos to you. That's a phenomenal thing.
Thank you.
Either we should tie the warranty to professional installation, or like you guys have done, certainly extend the warranty for those who utilize it. I think those are phenomenal tools. I think the other thing, while I'm on Taylor for a moment, I know you didn't know I was going to do this or want me to, but one of the things you guys have done is this. You're one of the first organizations in the industry outside of the media to communicate to the entire industry. I mean, you could have come here and talked about nothing but adhesive.
Yeah.
You didn't do that. In fact, I would say the majority of your Taylor times talk about something else, but it's impacting people who utilize your product. Fantastic. We learned from you. You actually helped us get set up with our studio. We have much of the same equipment, and our communication has increased dramatically now that we have Studio 59. So we do the same thing. We communicate to people. I think we talked about this earlier. The biggest issue I have, and the one thing that I'm discouraged by in my 10 years, is we've not been able to tear down all the silos.
Yeah.
We've got to all realize we're being impacted by the same issues, and if we work together, we might have to give up something for a little while, right?
Yep.
But in the end, Dean Howell, who's our chairman, loves to say that a rising tide raises all ships.
Yep.
It will pay you back in the end if you're willing to maybe give up something for the betterment of the industry. We all benefit.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's true. I think we are seeing that shift slowly over time too, of a lot of, and it's not just our industry, but let's hold our cards close to our chest, right? Don't tell anyone what kind of chemistries we have or what type of flooring or the click system or whatever. And as we continue to move forward, I hope that that's the direction we take. Is knowledge is power, and so the more we can share, the more we can educate, the more sure, it benefits hopefully the whole industry, but that in turn benefits us, and it's just good business. So
typically, if you look historically, I'm a history nut, but if you look historically, not only at industries but at countries, when they tend to come together is when they have a common enemy.
Yeah.
In this industry, we have a common enemy. It's failure.
Yeah.
That if we don't solve these issues, our industry as we know it today will not exist in 10 years.
Yeah.
There will be people making product and it will be sold, but not the same way that we do it today. We've got to take that seriously. We talk about, is it really an installation crisis? Well, let me ask you, is it a crisis when you know the hurricane's coming or after it hits?
Yeah.
We know what's coming. We've had the Blackstone Group do some research for us, and they told us how many installers we're shy every year of what we need.
How many is that?
6,000 to 10,000 a year.
Yeah.
And if you look at those who are retiring out, and the fact that over the last 2 years since we had that research, we weren't able to meet that.
Yeah.
We're even further behind. We've got to solve that.
Yeah.
And until we realize how serious that crisis is, the industry continues to go the wrong direction.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, you have proactive and reactive.
That's right.
And far too many businesses, far too many people want to ride that reactive line because, it's not my problem and it's not today. So, I'm so busy dealing with, we all know the last couple of years have given a lot of unforeseen challenges, but yeah, you're absolutely right. If we're not thinking proactively, if we're not if we're not being leaders in our industry, then we're doing something wrong.
And you said the key word is leadership, and that's a big focus for us going into 2023. The WFCA is establishing a certification for leadership so that those who are in this trade can really focus on the fact that they've done what they need to educate themselves. There's an old saying that you can't lead someone where you haven't been. I'm not sure it's always true, but it's certainly easier to lead somebody where you have knowledge of the trail, right? I'm not going to lead somebody around the Grand Canyon if I don't know the trails myself.
Sure.
And so we've got to have leaders that are willing to invest in themselves. There's a reason on an airplane that they tell you to put the mask on yourself first before you help those around you. Because if you're not healthy yourself, then you can't help the others who need your help.
Yeah.
We've got to, as leaders, begin to focus on what do we have to do to be better. People are following us to the level that we have achieved. If we achieve a higher level, we elevate them as well. And so we've got to be willing to do leadership stuff. And one of the biggest things leaders do is they embrace change. They realize that either you create the change or you respond to it.
Yep.
So proactive or reactive, right? I want to be the one who creates the change, who's doing the positive. I don't want to be the one reacting to it. And what I'm doing is asking the industry as a whole to embrace this change and to realize the problem exists and be a part of the solution, not on the backside, but on the front side.
Yeah. So speaking of leadership, I think, don't you guys have something coming up that you're going to be working on?
Yeah, well, I'll talk a little bit about that at TICE. I've got a leadership session I'm going to be doing. I'll be on the main stage for some of that as well. But we have really begun to focus on leadership since COVID. So when COVID first hit, I lived at the office for about a month and a half. I had a blow-up sofa. I had a blow-up couch. It was crazy, but we were getting news at midnight from DC, and we were trying to take that news, assimilate it, and send it back out to our members. It really was a big part of our growth because people began to realize that our voice really mattered. And so we began to focus on leadership. And when COVID hit, I began doing a segment called Leadership Live. It goes out every Friday. It's usually 5-6 minutes. And this year we decided to do something a little different. We did leadership by the letter. So we took the letters of the alphabet. There's 26. You multiply that times two words per letter, then you have a year, 52 weeks. And so we did that this year, leadership by the letter, and it's being made into a book. And that book will hopefully be launched the end of January, if not slightly after. But it will give you a chance to focus on one word for 1 week and try to implement that into your leadership style, into your life, and make a difference. And then embrace the next word. Rather than, we tend to make these New Year's resolutions and say, okay, I'm going to do all this starting January 1.
Right.
Well, no, you're probably going to fail because that's what we're trained to do on January 1st.
Yeah.
But this gives you the chance, no matter when you start, to have 52 weeks of success by applying one principle at a time to where you want to be as a leader. In addition to that, we've decided to really focus on that certification for leaders so that people in the industry can be certified and prove that they've gone the extra mile, that they've determined that they're going to grow their leadership strength.
So are you ready to talk about that at all, or you want to save that for surfaces?
I'll save it for surfaces. We're still in some of the development of that, but I'll tell you, it's really exciting. I can't wait. And maybe we can come back on here and talk about it, because you guys have been a big part of allowing us to have that voice. We have also done something to allow leadership to extend itself beyond certain individuals. We have Steve Abernathy, who does Profit Matters, and that's a segment that goes out at least quarterly, talking about what successful retailers are doing that others aren't. We have Lewis Davis, who does our technology, who really talks about why technology is important. I do one on leadership, but we have these things we call GROW sessions, and GROW stands for Growing Retail in Our World. And we now have 11 of those. There are ones on women in leadership. There are ones on legal issues impacting your success. We have some on installation, all kinds of topics. So I encourage people that are watching us today to get involved in one of those. Basically what we do is we divide you into groups of 8 or 10. You're on the phone on a Zoom call with people from around the country. It allows you to talk about the issues impacting you without having somebody who's right down the street from you hearing your challenges.
Sure. Yeah.
And then we find solutions that quite frankly, Seth, as you know, that they don't often come from us.
Yeah.
They come from the people that are living the same life you're living and have had the same challenge. And we've seen great success with these. These things are really catching on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
They sound like really cool groups. So
they are, and they're a lot of fun too. I lead one. I say lead, but generally most of the discussion comes from the people in the groups. I just pose a few questions and they go.
Take it from there.
Yeah.
So we should expect to hear more about leadership certification, is that correct?
Definitely.
In 2023, hopefully You thinking Q1?
Yeah, we'll definitely be announcing something at TICE.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just trying to get all the details worked out before we go to press with it.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner.
It is. It is. Hard to believe, but it is.
You know, I think we've covered a lot of good stuff. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about, the WFCA or any of the initiatives that you guys have?
No, you and I talked about this earlier. It's amazing to me the people that don't understand still who WFCA is. Part of that bothers me, and part of it really doesn't, because the WFCA is not about getting credit for the things we do. We're about doing the things that need to get credit.
Right.
And so we're trying to draw attention to things, but we don't really care who gets the credit for solving them, whether that's seeding the money for FCEF. People don't realize that was a big deal for us. We're a nonprofit. We live off of our portfolio and the investment that brings back to us. When you give up $1 million, you've given up some of the base of your portfolio that you'll never get back.
Sure.
And so let's assume that's $1 million and you got 6% on it. So that's $60,000 a year, but over 10 years, that's $600,000. We don't care about that because the money is not the thing that matters to us. The impact the money makes is what matters. And so as long as we can stay stable as an organization through our portfolio, we want to invest in the things that make a difference to our members and really to the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
And that's what the WFCA is about. So if you want to be part of an organization where your voice can be heard and matter, you've heard me use the analogy before, Seth, that I'm a vocal performance major.
Right.
And oftentimes if you hear a performer perform, they'll sing solo. But if you ever see them on the Grammy Awards or something, they always have a choir backing them up.
Yeah.
You'd say, well, why is that? Because when multiple voices sing the same thing, you hear it differently. It sounds totally different and it draws your attention. And that's the reason when we go to DC and had 1,200 members, they listened to us here.
Yeah.
When we went back and said we have 12,000, they listened to us here. And now the WFCA is seen as the voice of small business, at least in this industry. And quite frankly, we partner with a lot of other associations that are not part of the flooring industry at all to expand our voice even further. So we want you. If you're an associate member, our membership is probably cheaper than any other associate membership. And you can be in from $600 if you're a specialty trade, if you're a distributor, and $695 for that, and then it's $1,500 if you're a major manufacturer.
Well, and if you're going to exhibit at TICE, I mean, it pays for itself.
So. It does, in one event. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
For sure. Scott, really quickly, it is December. We are we're a week away, less than a week away from Christmas at this point. So tell us a little bit, just give a short plug for FCIF and encourage people to donate to that. Tell us what's going on there.
So again, FCIF is an association that is founded to help those who have helped to create this industry, who have worked at least 5 years, 5 of the most recent years of their employment in the flooring industry, and they've come across some type of catastrophic illness which has caused them to not be able to pay their bills. We step in and help. Listen, you're all giving to something. You're giving to organizations, and they're great organizations. But this is the organization that funds the people who have made your livelihood possible. I encourage you to give back. I happen to be one of the people that approves the grants, and I'm telling you, I read these all year long, but especially around the holidays, and they are gut-wrenching, and I'm a crier. I wasn't until I had kids, but I'm a crier. And I cry at a Kroger opening. It doesn't matter. I'll just cry. And these people are really hurting, and they need someone to step up and say, not only that we care, but the FCIF says we appreciate what you've done for our industry. I encourage you, go to fcif.org and donate to that organization. You can reach us through wfca.org and find their link there. But I'm telling you, this is the time. I look at this whole season between Thanksgiving and Christmas. We should be grateful all the time. We live in the greatest country in the world. But it kind of draws our attention to remind us that we should be grateful. And so I'm grateful for a lot of things. I'm grateful for an amazing industry that's trying to make a difference, not only in our members and to our consumers, but to the world as a whole. We do a lot environmentally in this industry that we don't get credit for, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for the people that have impacted my life from the time I was 7 years old, who poured into me and allowed me to have the platform I do now to please God, allow me to make a difference, because that's what I want to do. I'm thankful for people that are partners with us, like Taylor, that say, you know what, let's come together and let's combine our voices and make a difference. I'm thankful for an amazing board, an amazing staff at WFCA. We have great partners through other associations. I just hope everybody has a phenomenal holiday season, whether it's Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever it may be, Happy Hanukkah, all of those things to you. I hope that you take time to appreciate what you've got. Say thank you to somebody, write a handwritten note, and realize that you've got it better than 90% of all the people in the world just because you were born in this country. Do something for somebody, and maybe a great way to do this is to start by giving some money to FCIF so that we can do more good for those who need it.
Powerful.
Thanks.
Thank you, Scott.
Appreciate the time.
Love having you on here. So we will definitely, when you do the Leadership Live, we'll definitely get you back on.
Fantastic.
Or certification, not live. You're doing that one already.
Yeah.
So we'll get you back on. But Scott, thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Seth.
So, well, that's all the time we have for today. Just want to remind you, aside from having a great holiday, go check us out, follow us on social media, see what we're up to. Come back next year. Join us in January for all the things that we'll be doing as well. And we look forward to seeing a lot of you at ties, if not before. Remember, at Taylor Adhesives, we're with you every step.